Good evening. Hello. You join me on day 4 of the raid tournament. Although, in fairness, I've already done one attack, and I didn't. Well, I started recording it, but then my phone went. So actually, it didn't happen. But there we are. That's life. Say la vie. We're jumping in on this team's got completely the wrong colour tank. It should be an easy win. It almost certainly won't be. 754. 754 with that team. That's ridiculous. That's just mental. There's no way that this team should be getting that far. It's a terribly put together team. 2 reds next to each other, almost inexcusable, especially with one at the tank. And yet here we are. The world turneth. And in talking of political rants, which was something I was doing earlier on, I was in the supermarket earlier on. Now that's not the exciting part of the story. Possibly the whole story is exciting. I don't even know if this happens in other countries, but I was waiting at the checkouts, and it's one of these self-serve tills because they don't want to pay people to actually do work. And there was a lady there buying baby formula, and it all had security tags on it. On baby formula. And the UK is supposed to be it's like the 6th richest economy in the world. Why would we let babies starve? I cannot get my head around it. Why would we get to a point where young mothers would need to steal food for their babies? I could not get my head around it. I simply can't get my head around it. I mean, I know there'll be people out there who'll be like, mothers shouldn't have them if they couldn't raise them. So that's an excuse to let children starve? What have we come to as a society? How much has media poisoned our brains that people can look at starving children and say, well, it's their own fault? Lazy little kids lying there doing nothing. What do they contribute to society? Don't see them working 9 to 5. It's like the babies. How? I don't get it. I don't get the casual cruelty which seems to have been encouraged by. And in the UK, I believe the US is the same in other countries. We've had decades of right-wing media telling us that everybody else is bad. Everybody else is greedy. Everybody else wants our stuff, and we should be afraid all the time. Always be afraid because they're coming for you. Ooh, It's like, no. People, it's just people trying to get by. They're just trying to make a living. Why do we want to turn... And then, you talk to people and they're like, "Oh, you're just a bleeding heart, blah 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 blah." No, I don't see why in the richest economy in the world, one of the richest economies in the world, we don't do anything to help our people. The people are the ones who actually make things work. The ones who make the money. Half the people, a lot of the time, I find that the people out there who cry loudest about, they're taking our jobs and blah, 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 they aren't even working anyway. They're all retired. They're all old people who grew up in the world when you could buy a house for £3,000, which was twice your salary, and you didn't have to pay to go to university and all this. And they're going there. Yeah, well, I had all those opportunities, but I wanted to make sure that nobody else ever would. I cannot understand it. I just can't get my head around it about the casual disregard for human life amongst people who go on about how we should do everything to protect our own all the time. Never a soldier left behind, blah, 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 blah. And they're just making it up. It's just so tragic. And then you can't point it out to them. It's like talking to a brick wall. Their minds were made up decades ago, and nothing's going to change their minds. They gave the ability to think for themselves up when they started buying the Daily Mail or whatever the equivalent is, or watching Fox News, as I understand it. But just just learning that the only thing to feel for any other human being is fear and hate. Very depressing. Just to see baby formula treated as a luxury item. Baby formula. Just, yeah. It staggered me. I'd not really noticed it before. I mean, I get, there are always people going on, oh, well, this shoplifting is out of control, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but shoplifting, I mean, when I was a kid, people would shoplift booze. People weren't shoplifting baby formula, things that literal babies need to survive. How do you square that circle with any kind of actual humanity? Anyway, this raid's not going very well. Not that I'm really focusing on it, but I mean, Bunraku has dodged everything. Bunraku is presumably a gammon, you see. I don't know what do Americans have gammons? They're a British thing, perhaps. Basically, it tends to be old white people who are convinced that the world was better when they were children, despite all the evidence to the contrary, and everything was better when they were growing up, which many things were, but then they have destroyed the many things that were better, and then complain about how it's everybody else's fault. And then they get very pink and angry, which is why they're called gammon. Gammon's a kind of ham. I don't know, I'm sorry, forgive me if I'm talking down to any Americans that are watching, because I genuinely know that food and stuff is called very different in America. We call it candy floss, you call it cotton candy. Not a big thing, but it's enough to cause confusion in a few situations. I know you have, obviously you have ham and pigs, and anyway. So I'm sounding horribly ignorant here, but there we are. Anyway, so that was it, really. Yeah, sorry, a bit of a rant on the world, but just, shocked me today. But there we go. Anyway, well, I know this wasn't really about Puzzle Combat, but then I know a few of my videos haven't been, so let's say la vie. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. As ever, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And it just remains for me to say, au revoir, goodbye, and may death come swiftly to your enemies.